Hey, hi all. Welcome to our next episode of Industry Dialogue. So we pick up a specific topic and we have a discussion with one of the industry expert. So this time we have Mr. Kevin Smith from Simplify, the Chief Operating Officer of Simplify with us. We are honored to host him as a speaker for this particular session. Without wasting your time, Kevin, I think it'll be better if you could actually help us knowing more from your end, which will actually be useful for everybody to know you better.
Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm Kevin Smith. Thanks so much for the introduction. I'm Chief Operating Officer of Simplify. Simplify is the UK's leading property and conveyancing business. So we specialise in volume residential conveyancing. So effectively, in the UK, when you're buying or selling your home property, you'll use a lawyer. Traditionally, you'd have walked down the high street to use your local lawyer. We've revolutionized conveyancing, that we're a direct conveyancing provider, so everything's digital. We are a direct conveyancer, so we don't come in face-to-face contact with our customers. Everything's through a digital portal. And we've re-engineered the operational model. So my expertise has been re-engineering the operational model, and we've broken down big elements of the legal process. Okay, and that's obviously enabled us to tap into different resource pools that a traditional model wouldn't have been able to tap into, but also use sort of advanced technology in how we operate our workflows as well. Primarily as a business, we're a B2B business, so we get a lot of work from the large real estate agents or our customers in the UK, and we have an increase in direct-to-consumer offering as well when people are searching for residential conveyancing lawyers when they're buying or selling property. So early part of my career was more in the traditional legal setting, and the last couple of decades have been in the volume conveyancing arena, and as I said, we've pioneered different operational models.
Thank you, Kevin. I think it was a very detailed one knowing about you. Just for people in India, so when you're buying a property in India, it's like, okay, you take a legal opinion. Okay, that's it. You both the parties, it's your option whether to take a legal opinion. It's not a mandate. It's only for your satisfaction, and to get the things right, you actually take a legal opinion. But in UK, there's a mandate that, okay, both the parties has to actually have lawyers on their side. So that's what Simplify is into. So I thought, okay, let me give just one add-on commentary with whatever Kevin has explained.
Absolutely. The big part of that process is that we also, during the process, obviously deal with all the funds transfer. So we act for lenders. Okay. So while technically you could do your own conveyancing, a lender wouldn't send you the money to do that. So the lenders send us the money to buy properties on behalf of our clients, and also when customers are selling properties, part of our obligation will be to pay off any lending on that property. So yeah.
Great, Kevin. Thanks for explaining it more. Okay, so now I actually want to pick up the first question from your experience, Kevin. Being a chief operating officer, you have the exposure to the global workforce management. So we want to pick up your insights in dealing with global workforce management versus domestic workforce management. What kind of a differentiation it brings in, or what kind of insight that you would like to share it with us?
I think the big thing for me, I mean, we started working in India in 2005. So, good few years. And, it's probably fair to say that through those experiences, our approach has our approach has been modified, coming from working experience. And the reality is that we at the outset we worked in a traditional sort of BPO environment. Over time, and as we grew our operations, it was clear to me that the consideration and understanding for the cultural differences is a critical aspect and should never be underestimated. I personally believe that whilst you can have sort of standardizations of workflows and processes, the people, the key ingredient consideration for local custom, consideration for adapting different cultural strategies is crucial. Okay, and for me, a big part of that has been developing and empowering local leadership. Okay, so whilst our model has been very much driven around a unified operational model with standardization of processes, I think having a flexibility that one size doesn't fit all when you're dealing with people is critical.
Uh, Great, Kevin. I think you summarized in a very simplified words. So unified methodologies and then standardization. When you're actually bringing all this together, just out of curiosity, how do you manage the compliances within it? It's all together stitched in it, or like, okay, geography based, you work on it?
I think from the what we do is we have a platform, so what we regard as like an innovation and sort of change hub. So I think giving voices to our people is crucial, whichever part of the business you work in, whether you sit on the board of directors or whether you sit on working on the reception area or whatever role you play, whether you're a new entrant in the business. And I think sort of like having an open ear culturally to ideas, to embracing ideas, embracing change and having that sort of change ready kind of environment is absolutely crucial. That said, ultimately, having an understanding from your processes, and there's a complexity to it of where there is a black and a white process. Okay, i.e., that is right, that is wrong, this is the right way to do it, that's the wrong way to do it. That's easy. Where the challenge really comes is when you've got that grey area in between. Okay, and actual fact, you can really make things more complex. But when you've got that grey area, trying to actually ram that into a unified process. Okay, so they're the kind of things in the nicest possible way strategically to recognize that, to recognize when this really just kind of needs pulling out and it needs somebody to sit around and take a view on it, to have a think about it, to engage the right stakeholders. And I think actually as you're standardizing those processes, don't be fearful of acknowledging that there will be complexities that you need to just identify as complexities. And then part of that is empowering people to say, this doesn't fit the norm. Okay, this isn't the norm, whether it's a people issue, whether it's a process issue. Okay, so where does it go to? Okay, and being able to give an outlet that you can escalate that quickly. And actually, when you escalate that or challenge that it's celebrated, that it isn't seen as somebody causing an issue because guess what? I really think we need to have a look at this. Okay, and I think that's a cultural thing that people can actually say, there's something, this doesn't fit. Okay, could someone have a look at it? And then it's how you, in my opinion, it's how you embrace that and how you actually feedback and actually engage with the person. So it's creating that psychological safety for people, if you like, to be able to challenge the status quo.
Great, great. In fact, when you're actually unifying it and handling the complexities, and when you specifically work on the gray areas, I'm sure how much of compliance perspective that you actually get yourself into it and making the processes actually enabled. And when you have your workforce broadly, globally in diverse locations.
Yeah, I think the big thing for that is to create a platform that of engagement and people have got a voice. Okay, and I think that's really important, and that's something that, in all honesty, sort of looking back, is something that I haven't always done that well. There's been this is the way to do it, off we go. Okay, and and you get that from feedback from people. You go and try to deploy something and realize that you hadn't engaged with the right stakeholders, you hadn't got the right advice. So and this is, and there'll be obviously, while there's process experts, we are regulated entities. So, we're regulated law firms. So there's a high degree of compliance. There's a high degree of regulation and obviously consumer protections, quite rightly so. Buying and selling the property is the biggest financial commitment that anybody ever makes. So there's a high degree of obviously consumer client protection and there's a regulated environment. But within that framework, of course, challenging that status quo and giving people a voice is critical. And I made the mistake, probably in the early part to, trying to, if you like, judge different geographical parts of our operation of how people will accept some of these changes. There's different, in actual fact, and part of that is actually is sort of like, is to understand and actually getting voices and people at different levels in the organization, in different countries, in different parts of our business, to be able to feel empowered to say, I want to challenge that in my area. That's going to have a real issue, and this is why. Okay, and that only comes from that, and we're creating an environment culturally that people feel as if they can say these things, challenge often more senior people that I don't think you've quite got that right here. Okay, right. which I love when that happens, and that's, I want people, the team to say, don't agree with you. You got that wrong.
Right. Great. So when you actually say that, okay, single environment, which is actually making everything together, I'm sure technology's role is very crucial and critical here. So we are already feeling that, okay, we are actually a kind of a one world. Now, with all these things shaping up more, what do you think, or what do we anticipate in the future, Kevin, with such things actually evolving together and coming in?
It's a great question, and it's one that we spend a lot of time sort of as we're deploying sort of new technologies and how that kind of the impact that's going to have on the workforce. To degrees. I was talking to somebody only recently, and they were dealing in an AI robotic process program, and new roles that are coming out of this is individuals whose role was actually who was managing robots, a robotic team.
Okay.
And it's like, wow, that's kind of like the concept of that, is to, it's obviously that, where individuals would be, managing sort of like automated processes to making sure that they're working well and such like, and to challenge sort of processes, etc. Which was the concept of that was kind of like a bit of a wow for me, that you've got a human managing a robotic process, that you've got these sort of robots, etc. I generally think there's nobody's fully landed on this yet. Okay. And it's a really, really interesting question. But what I can say with certainty is the companies that can embrace technology and to get that blend of people with technology will get a competitive advantage. Okay, because an organizations that struggle to adapt to change, struggle to adapt to the next level of change as it starts to happen in, have that pushback on change, will struggle, will lose a competitive advantage. And it's because you can see roles will change, in my view, roles will change. There'll be certain roles will be modified. And we can see that within our organization at the moment. How will, what will the future workforce look like? It'll be a combination of technology and people. What I absolutely do see is the creativity of people is and how we actually deploy this technology, and companies that embrace that creativity of individuals to actually enhance that technology is going to be absolutely critical. So I haven't got the answer, other than I know we are in the transitional phase. Okay. And for me, it's actually the organizations that can embrace that the combination and the impact it has on culture as well. What impact is this going to have on the culture of an organization where what roles change, and for some people, where their roles would be of a some of the, if you like, let's take one element of this where individuals are doing particular activities which will, part of that role going forward will be dealt with artificial intelligence and technology, will those people, and how will L&D deal with upskilling these individuals to do the more, the higher value activities? And for some people, they may not want that.
Yeah.
It may not suit them. They'll actually quite like the status quo as is at the moment. So good question. Be lying if I said I've got that one, nailed, other than to say I'm all ears.
So yeah, I can understand there is no end answer to this particular one, because the future is completely changing, and then as you rightly said, embracing change is the only thing that is actually making us to better, better, better. Yeah.
Yes.
And when you said that, okay, technology and people come together, it's a great word. Usually that's where the operations excellence starts coming out, because we could see people who are not upskilled, who are not updating themselves, they are obsolete, or they are outdated. When technology is not updated, again, the organization lags behind the business results. So when all these things are actually coming together, Kevin, and with your experience of managing globally, uh, how do you bring the global synergy? Because maybe what's available as a technology update in one country might not be in another country, or maybe something. So when you have these things found in two different places or multiple places, how do you actually synergize all these things together?
The thing about it is, it's a really interesting question, because we're going through this at the moment, and I actually, I can see the shift in some of the I can see a shift happening in organizations in terms of where some of these technologies are being driven by resource availability. Actually, I think resource availability with the right skill set, we will, in my personal opinion, will have an impact on which part of your sort of organization is really sort of delivered and driving some of this, some of these changes as they happen.
Great. So now when such a change is happening, Kevin, how's the acceptance level? Because that is very important for that to get implemented and move on.
Yeah, mixed,
Makes.
absolutely mixed.
Okay.
I'd be naive to think other than that. And having, as we're under our own sort of transformational programs, as you'd expect at the moment, and there's mixed. There's nervousness. There's nervousness to change. There's, what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my role? Say if I don't want to, reskill or kind of retrain, or say if I'm not able to. Actual fact, I quite like how things are at the moment. So I'd say there's nervousness, and I think the key thing for leaders is to paint that vision of what the future looks like, and and part of this is from a personal view is this is for the benefit of the business, and therefore for the benefit of our people. Okay, and actually it's to paint the future, to paint the vision of this is the direction of travel, and the benefit of this is not just the business benefit to remain obviously with a competitive advantage, but also for the opportunities that it derives from within our business. I personally believe that not everyone comes along, and that's fine. Absolutely, that's fine. That's part of life. That's part of running a business. But when, and I think that has to be expected. But I do think painting the clearest picture we possibly can from what we know now, knowing how fast moving things are, of where we are heading. Okay, it'd be naive of me to tell you where paint a picture where I think I'm going to be in sort of like 5 to 7 years. But to give a picture of where we're heading over the next 2, 3, 4 years, okay, I think that's important. I think that's important for people. And then as these things start to happen, in my experience, gradually that change and that nervousness, that nervousness starts to diminish. I remember when we announced to our teams back in 2005 that we would be operating a blended operational model, or what we got call that time an onshore offshore blended operation model. We'd be breaking down some of the legal processes. We'll be doing obviously work out of sort of various parts of India and UK and other parts. There was a high degree of nervousness, skepticism, around that. Okay. And for me, then it was a case of, actually this sort of like shift to technology is a similar sort of challenge in terms of this is a significant change to how we currently operate. This is what the future looks like. And I think people want security, and part of that security, part of that message is that yes, things will change, but to the benefit of the business. If the business benefits, then people within the business benefits and thrives as well.
Great answer, Kevin. In fact, you actually ended up with the right statement. When there is a change coming in, so specifically when you are actually talking about certain kind of a change. So I'll take you from the previous point that you touched upon. You said that, okay, fine, what are we going to do in the next 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 7 years? Naturally, when somebody has a drive, they upskill themselves and they actually move on. Now, there could be a situation, and specifically it happens in a function where when people are been doing a static routine role every day in, day out, how are they in a position to visualize this and able to upskill? So, do you have any insights around that, Kevin? When we have a vision as an organization, says that, okay, fine, in 3 to 4 years or 5 years, okay, we are going to be like this, and these kind of technological changes that are happening and then moving to the next level. And we have a set of people who are doing a static role day in, day out, a specific role, because this predominantly happens in operations.
Yes.
Do you think they upskill themselves visualizing what's going to happen, or is it organizations' directive to get them upskilled? So what kind of a thing actually happens over there?
Good question. I think it's the organization's responsibility to support people in that upskilling. Okay. However, we all know that there'll be some people that will embrace that and some people that decide it's not for them. Okay. But I absolutely believe it's the organization's responsibility to give people the opportunity to identify what the gap is. Okay. First of all, check obviously what people's competencies are, and then actually what the new role looks like, what activities are still going to be carried out, what the competencies could be required from there, what the characteristics are, and understand what that gap is, okay, and then close that gap. And that, for me, is absolutely the organization's responsibility to close that gap, to take care of its people, and to retain those people, and give every opportunity that people are retrained in the new role as a new person would coming in. They wouldn't be retrained in the role that it was previously. Be retrained in what the new role is. I do think there's a responsibility on individuals, therefore, to accept that and embrace that. Okay, to give that a good chance of success. But absolutely, the company's responsibility, and part of that is actually, where when you start breaking this down into the sort of change, it's having very kind of we've got a simple visual that stands at the top. This is what the conveyancing role of the future looks like, and obviously this is what the as is. This is what the to be is. Okay, the as is state, the to be state, and basically, a nice simple visual which shows the different things. And going forward, there'll be different tools that are required. And then where you can break out from there is, okay, what skills are going to be needed to be added to enable you to deal with those new tools. And then actually closing that bridge is critical. So this is where you are. This is where the future is. You can see what your as is. You do that day in, day out fantastically. That's your to be. That's where we're going to. These are the tools you're going to be using, and these are the skills you're going to need to use those tools. Can you do that? Are you willing to work with us as we train you on that?
Great articulation on skill gap, Kevin. You narrated well that, okay, fine, how do you actually find the gap, and then what organization has to do it, and how do we actually fix it? By doing so, 100%, I'm sure that, okay, the employees will get that belongingness with the organization. That's
so.
great.
That's a challenge. We want to bring people with us.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's on. If you can keep as many people on the change journey as possible, for me, it's crucial. We can. An actual fact, as a leader, one of the most rewarding things is seeing people move through that change journey. Actually, where they've actually embraced the move forward. They embrace a new role, they take on more skills, therefore take the opportunities that come in an organization, and actually to see people develop. In actual fact, and there's part of me that when you've got the people that are really thinking, maybe like a little bit of confidence or a little bit of cynicism to what this is, that actually, there's a real personal reward when we see these people, on the other side, say, so that I was worried about, obviously I can get this nailed. And, what we do know is that as human beings, we adapt. Okay. We adapt, we adapted through COVID. Yeah. Okay. Who'd have said, the organizations would have kept the wheels running? If anyone said to any business leader out there for COVID, this is going to happen kind of like next month, keep your operations running.
Right.
But we did, yeah. We did. Everyone did. It did. We had that situation that, that if someone had been asked to put a project plan together for that, there'd have probably been a 3-year project plan leading up to it. Well, guess what? A lot of us had, 3 weeks, and in some cases, even less. It was literally, this is happening. Depends on part of the globe you were. And guess what? We adapted. Okay. In actual fact, and for me, bringing sort of real life examples of real massive challenges that a business face should give us confidence to actually deal with some of the challenges that we face going forward.
Superb. You summed up in one word, adapt. I really like it. Okay, one last question from my end, Kevin. What are your perspectives towards skilled labor in India?
We're in India for that reason. Okay, we work in India, working obviously different parts of the UK. Obviously we've got a couple of operational sites in India. I've seen a significant positive increase in the years, nearly getting on for 2 decades that I've worked within India. The quality of people coming out of university is exceptional. Always strong work ethic. I think for me, that one of the things that I noticed working within India was, obviously you can have the technical skills. I do believe there's a real pride and ownership of the role, the job, and from my perspective, it's been a critical part of our strategy for the growth of our business, which we're the largest residential property company in the UK for a reason, and that's because we have blended operational models. We get access to resources in India that we may struggle to get in other parts. So the reality of it is that irrespective of any labor arbitrage, irrespective of anything of that nature, we would have operations in India come what may. It's a big part of our strategy. As we're talking recently about sort of strategic direction and actual direction of travel of our business. So it's a key part of our has been a key part of our strategy, and will be a key part of our strategy going forward.
Great. I think thanks for sharing it transparently, Kevin. In fact, this couples with some of the statistical points when you said that, okay, the more number of education, the universities, etc. So the statistics says that in India, we have about 1.5 to 1.6 million of engineers who graduate every year. We have about 2,500 infrastructure based colleges and polytechnics, which are like amazing, so that's there. But then we thought, okay, fine, at least from global perspective, how it is being looked upon, and that's what my question was, Kevin.
Excellent.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. It was a pleasure to host you for our industry dialogue conversation. Thank you for joining us.
My absolute pleasure. As I said, as you know, Subu, I value our partnership with TeamLease greatly, and looking forward to the future, and our business is growing collaboratively. So thanks very much for the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Kevin.